Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Colors of Paris. So, Colors of Paris is an action selection game. You start the game with 3 meeples. Each of those meeples will select an action. Some of the actions have 2 spots next to them, some only have the 1. You'll notice there's these little cross pieces in around the board. If you're playing a 2-player game, this one is added, and one of the large ones as well. If you're playing a 3-player game, this one and the other small one is also added. So it reduces the amount of stuff that is available to be selected during the game. This and this are always unavailable. What's going to happen once everyone has done their selection of actions, and I'll run through what the actions mean in a second, the player who has the start token, they will in turn order turn down one of their markers and take the action of that marker. So blue being the first player, he might lie this one down, which enables him to grab yellow. The number of yellows that he's going to grab is determined by this number here, which is a 3 at the moment. So he will pick up 3 yellows for doing that. Green, for example, could do the same. Now you see how we're lying the guys down. That's actually a really important thing to be doing. It shows that the action has happened. But what's going to happen once everyone has taken all of their actions, I'll run through what the actions mean in a moment. Each player, starting with first player again, will select one of their guys on the outside circle, so not this guy, but one of the guys on the outside circle to hold the position. So he might go, I'm going to keep that guy there. And green might decide to hang on to that one. The others come back. So what's now going to happen is, first thing, this wheel turns. The 2 that are standing have already selected those spots. We then continue the action selection with just the other 2 for each player. If all of your meeples happen to be in the middle, then you just take them all back. What we're trying to do is paint these pictures. So one of the actions, which is where this guy is standing, is to select one of those as the one that you're going to paint. You'll see there's numbers at the bottom. That's how many points come to the player who has selected that particular picture at the end of the game, or once you have actually finished painting, that is. So this player having a whole bunch of yellow might go, oh, I'm going to build this one. It'll only get him 12 points at the end of the game, as opposed to 16, but it'll be easier for him to paint. That stays open. If this player happened to be there as well, he could select one of the other 3. Once the wheel turns, that's when they get replaced. All of them will get replaced when the marker with the arrow, which is here as well, gets all the way around to those spots. All of them come out and we start again with fresh paintings. So what does each of the things do? I'm glad you asked. Let's run through it. This one, and this one just give you whatever this number is. So it starts at 3 of a base color. And they're in these cubes. So you saw me get the 3 yellows earlier. Let's imagine he'd managed to pick up 3 blues as well. This one, and this one allow him to mix 2 colors or 2 cubes to make green. The number of green he's going to make is 2. If he's managed to move this up, and I'll talk about that in a second, to 5, then these 2 would turn into 5. So that goes in there. If he had managed to mix all of the secondary colors and he chose this one, he could turn one of each of these secondary colors into a black cube. Those black cubes are worth 6 points at the end of the game. They do not count towards your maximum number of cubes you can have. See, this maximum 12 is saying that you can have 12 cubes total, not including the black. That's at the end of each turn. So if during your turn you end up with more, that's fine. But once you get down to the end of the turn when this turns around, that's when you have to reduce down to 12 pieces. This one, as discussed earlier, is about taking the paintings. This one is about painting the painting. And that's looking at this line here. So at the moment, he can do 1 cube whenever he takes that action. So with his 1 cube, he might do that. There are 3 other things on the outside of the circle that we need to deal with. This one, and this one. Whenever you take that action, let's say this one for the moment, whenever you take this action, you are going to spend 2 cubes of any color. I suggest spending the outside cubes because it takes an action to get to the inside cubes. So 2 cubes to move that guy along one spot. What now happens is when he does this action, let's put the guy up there, he can now move 2 cubes out of the stuff that he has. So he can move that one, and he doesn't have any others. Let's for a second imagine that that's what he looks like. So he's put one across, he could put a second one across as well. This painting will be finished once all the squares have been covered with paint cubes. That's all of the outside section. There's also an inside section. So what you can do is, if you were here, that allows you to do the action of any one of the meeples on the outside circle that are still standing. Which means if he wished to do this action, at the moment, he could do this action by spending that guy. Or he could do this action by spending that guy, and then do that action again by spending that guy. The thing you've got to watch out for is if this one has been used before that one, this action is no longer available because he's already been used. This action here allows the player to take the number 1 and a white cube. If you already have the first player token, so blue had that, he would not be allowed to place a guy there just to get the white cube. If you took this action, that allows you when the board should turn to not turn the board, or to turn the board 2 spaces rather than just the 1. So if there's something that's specific that you're really liking that's about to hit a spot that can't be used, you could maintain that spot so you can keep that where it is, or you could turn it to that spot on the other side by going 2. Every spot that has been spoken about so far is 1 meeple only per spot. Obviously, this is 2 spots, so it's 2 on the same action, but 1 per spot. This place in the middle can have any number of meeples on it. What that spot allows you to do is collect white pigments according to the number of pigments available. So by going there, he's managed to pick up 3 of the white pigment. Now, what you use those white pigments for is you can, when painting your painting, use white instead of a color, but you will lose 2 points per white pigment you use on those spots. The other thing you can do with white pigments is when you take this action to move that forward, you could spend the white pigments instead of the colored pigments. The other thing that white pigments can be used for, if you are to use one of the extra rules, is there's another pile of cards which go out here, and you can select to take one of these cards when you use this action, but it costs you that many white pigments to do that action. While we're on the extra elements or the extra rules, there is one other thing available, which is these cards. Each of them have a special thing that particular player can do written at the bottom of their card. So you'll get 2 of them, you'll choose one and put it on the side of the board, and from now on you can use this special rule for the entire game that no one else has. The game finishes when 2 of these cards have been filled in, or when the 5th black pigment is acquired. The scoring on the game is for each painting that has been completed. So once that painting is actually completed, we flip it over. Any white pigments stay on there to show that you've used white pigments on there, so you'll lose some points on that. But any painting that's been turned over, any of these add 6 points, plus any of these markers. You get these markers by getting up to this point. If you get to this point, you can choose between taking 6 points from a marker, which would go down there, or you could get another meeple. There are 3 more meeples available, 1 for each track. What you've got to be aware of with this choice is if you get up to the end, you will get a 10-point marker. If at this point you've taken the 6 points, when you get that to the end, that just turns over. So instead of getting 10 points, you're actually only getting another 4 points. So it's a matter of choosing which lines you are going to get to the end of, to whether it's worthwhile taking the 6 points or taking the extra meeple when you come across those spots. I think that is everything that is required for this game. So please go ahead and watch my gameplay to get a feel for how the game actually plays. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.